a chew toy with a dog. It's going to come to me. Okay, D-Boom. I came to Pedro. Pedro is the harbor of Los Angeles. And I was in Virginia. My papa's a sailor, an engine guy. And Vietnam was a lot closer to Pedro. So in '68, I moved there. I lived in the Navy house. He gets other orders to go to Alameda, kind of close to where he lives now. My mom says, fuck that. We moved. Buttload of time, no more. We're staying in Pedro. So we can't live in the Navy house, and I have to move to Praj. This Praj shares, it's a newer Praj, and it shares a park with an older one. And I was checking out this park. It's the biggest one in Pedro. It's called Peck Park. And this guy, I'm 12 years old, he jumps out of a tree on me. I was like, whoa. We both go to the ground, and he goes, he had big Coke bottle glasses, and he, like I do now. Anyway, he puts them on, and he says, you're not Eskimo. I said, no. Because I guess he had a neighbor with the nickname Eskimo. So I meet this guy. I said, I just moved here. In fact, I'm over here. Let me show you. So we start walking over there, and he starts rattling off all these bits. You know, jokes, witty stuff, and I'm thinking, this is the smartest dude in the world. Like, there's no gaps. I mean, it's just what would end up like a Minutemen gig. It's a little. And so the next day, he wants to show me where he lives. He lives in the old one. This is Park Western. I lived in these new ones called the Park Western States. Fucking cracker box, stucco. But his were older, so they didn't qualify as estates. And he plays me this recording, and it's this guy, George Carlin, and all those bits he had memorized. He didn't make any of it up. But it was too late, because I was smitten with him. I just thought he was just, even though, I would jive. Maybe not jive, because I learned some bass licks when I was trying. It's okay to copy a little bit, I guess. And after that, well, actually later that afternoon, his mom says, you guys are going to have a band. I never played, but he had been playing for about 5-6 months because she played as a girl. Now we're talking 1970, 71, 70. So there's not a lot of guns yet in the heavier parts, but there's fighting and stuff. So she wants us in the house after school, and that's the idea of the band. We'll just play in the bedroom, and all bands have a bass. So you're going to be the bass. I didn't know what bass was. I saw the pictures on album covers. It looked like a guitar with only 4. We go to our first concert a couple of years later. It's T-Rex, and there's no club scene. So I'm not close enough. I don't really know who's doing what, and everybody's tiny, and the sound is. So I played a guitar for a couple of years with only 4 strings. I just thought they had skinnier necks. And I remember I was 16 when I saw my first bass. Just starting high school. In those days, that's when high school was. Little dude in the homeroom. I had been buffing badge and boasting. I played bass with my buddy. He sees me in this store just tripping on this instrument. It's Chuck Sound of Music. In those days, the records were sold in the same places as instruments and sheet music. It was much different in those days. Anyway, I couldn't believe the strings. And I see this guy from school. I go, look at this thing. And the guy goes to me, he said, I thought you said you were a bass player and you played with your buddy all the time. And I said, I do. He goes, well, that's a bass. I said, I know that. I did not know that. And I thought, oh, fuck, that's why there's only 4 strings. Because they're so big, they're like bridge cables. And there's bass, bajo, it's low. That's why it's called bass. It's lower. See, when I met D-Boom, the only rock band he knew was Creed's. His daddy was way into Buck Owens, and they'd lived a few years in Bakersfield before Pedro. He never heard Who or Cream or him. but he heard Creedence. And in fact, he had all 6 of those first records. And of course, there no album covers, they're in another place and all folded up. And so they're on a hardwood deck and grape juice and cheap plastic record player. You need about 7 quarters on it. I can't hear what the bass dude's doing. What's his name? Stu Cook. I can hear him now. He did some good lines. But in those days, I didn't know what he was. So I looked at the album covers. And I thought, well, I'll wear the singer's shirts. And maybe D. Boone will still like me. So that's how I got into flannel. So a couple of things happened. I just learned about George Carlin, and D. Boone, flannels, bass. So probably the next big epoch was the punk movement and getting introduced. But this is what got me into music. I wasn't really a musician. I just wanted to be with my friend. It was a different time. We didn't know that music was for expression. We thought it was something you did. Maybe younger people these days, that cycle's gone around. It's just something that's going on, Never thought of music as expression. Although I meet a lot of young people that use it as expression. We didn't. It was like building models. Well, it kind of looks like the real thing. Probably did in our ears, But whatever, we had fun doing it together. When we saw the first gig, it blew our mind. Not arena rock, a club gig. The Bags, the whiskey on a Sunday. Yeah. Here's what happened. We were jamming with a friend of ours, like Tie Your Mother Down and Dust in the Wind and a bunch of crap like this. No gigs, right? You just do this play, And we're taking a breather and we come out. It's this, what now is Cabrillo Marina, but it was the Lower Reservation, Fort MacArthur. So they had all these old Army things they were renting out till they tore them down. So we're in one of those and we come out all sweaty. And there's a cat. His name was Jeff Visvich, but I think you guys knew him as Nicky B. He was a Pedro guy that was in the Weirdos. He was a drummer. And he had a Vaseline and he was wearing a Kotex around his neck. And he comes up to us and he says, there's this scene in Hollywood where people write their own songs. I mean, to tell you, this is how lame the culture was. Whoa! Because, of course, the best dude in Pedro was the guy who could play Black Dog the best, trying to use music as expression. So we go up there and we see this gig, and the first thing out of my mouth to D. Boone was, we can do this. I mean, I didn't think twice. It just fell out of my mouth. I said, we can do this. It blew my mind. Like, they just let anybody get up there and play. And it was wild. The freak flag was flying. You understand, me and D. Boone were little boys in the 60s. When people are taking things in their hands in the streets, anti-war and civil rights, all kinds of stuff. And by the time we come of age in the 70s, it's Nuremberg rallies at the big rock arena show is. Excuse my metaphor. Do you feel like I do? No. All of us in this huge arena like the same person? No. Do I get to even meet the dude sitting in the dark, trying to see through all the motor smoke? I don't know. It was just so. I'm glad for it in a way, because a farmer would tell you, if you want a good crop, use a lot of manure. We had tons of motherfuckers. So this scene that he'd already been part get going that was the go. He gave us the Geo. And later on, they got us in the rock stuff, but just him being part of that movement, it's hard to tell you what it was like. But they also let us bring something really personal, me and D. Boone together. Could join part of them, take turns playing for each other with them.
Good segue. So you had a very pivotal stop in New York on your way to LA from Baltimore, right? Musical.
Yeah. I lived in Baltimore, played in bars for tips and played cover songs. And we would do a few original songs that sounded enough like the band or Neil Young or something like that, that people would say, oh, Oh, yeah, that's not so bad. I like the other ones that I know better, but they would pass. And but I got to meet some. I would see John Waters and the actors that he worked with, and they were just hanging around in bars. And I thought, well, this is kind of cool celebrity. This is celebrity like a mass murderer, or this is attainable. I could either be famous or infamous. Because there's people like Mink Stoll and David Lockery, and Divine didn't hang out that much, but John would. So, I wanted to do something. It was clear that I wasn't going to do it in Baltimore, and that was kind of great, because people just, like Mike saying, people just did it for the hell of it. Because that was something to do, because it was a way to express yourself and a way to just not be bored and just drink all the time. Although we tried. Anyhow, so I was able to. My parents lived in New York, and I had a free place to stay, so I could go up there and hang out, and would see. I saw Talking Heads and the Heartbreakers up at CB's and Max's Kansas City, and I had David Bowie records and Horses by Patti Smith, and I thought, well, it's now or never. I was probably like 23. So I said, fuck this. I'm not going to go to New York. I hate the East Coast. So California is the place you got to be. Swimming pools, movie stars, fancy eating table. So anyway, so went out to LA, and I had run a poetry reading in Baltimore. Poetry at that point, like early, mid-70s, was really becoming a performance art thing. Where the poetry was funny, it was entertaining, and people were talking about very personal things, a lot of stream of consciousness kind of stuff, and it was totally open verse, and so I'd run this reading series with a couple friends, and another kind of collective of people that didn't really fit into things, so I liked that whole deal, and then I figured, well, I'm in a place that I have no friends, so where can I find like-minded people, and found out there was this Venice Poetry Workshop. And I thought, excellent. And then somebody said, well, Tom Waits went there. I thought, all right. Bukowski used to go there once in a while. Even better. So it's just down the street. So I go there Tuesday night, and it's mostly people that people looked like poets. and that's not all good. But Exene was there, and here's this, very strange, mysterious, with red hennaed, kind of wavy hair, and real dark lipstick, and I'm thinking, well, this looks interesting. So we were asked to fill out a piece of paper that said, name your top 10 poets, and Exene she just liked writing, and she had a job at this place called Beyond Baroque, which is where the workshop was held. It was one of those CETA jobs where you could say, I'm poor and I don't know nothing, so give me a job and I won't, join a gang or something. So she was learning to be a typesetter from Beyond Baroque, because they have a huge, small press library. So she went there Tuesday night for the first time, sang with me, who are your favorite poets? And she didn't know jack. She just liked, writing, and her sister wrote, and she'd heard Patti Smith's record and a few other things, and she goes, who do you have on your list? Because I had studied some of that stuff, It's like, so the very first thing that we did together was cheating. And then she said, oh, by the way, you wrote the same name down twice, dumbass. And I was like, she's cheating and also, taking me down a couple pegs, which still happens. And, then the next time, I think we went next door to this terrible jazz club called the Come Back In, where they were playing like wave jazz before that was even a genre, and we were thinking like, this is terrible, but we're having a good time, and we're buying each other drinks, and then it's like something fell out of the sky, like deep blue, and it was looking back on it, I would say it's fate that we all got together at the same place, and it was all happening there, and the Minutemen were a great addition to that.
You know, down the street from Come Back In was Radio Tokyo, where we did double nickels
That's right.
on the dime.
That's right.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, we did that.
Because there was 3 Washingtons. They finally named one of them Abbott Kennedy.
Yes.
We had 3 streets. It's not as bad as Peachtree in Atlanta, but
Right.
There's 14 of them, right?
So you were saying the first gig you saw was a Bags gig? When you, like, and that was when you kind of went, there's a scene happening.
Yeah,
I mean-
before that, it was pictures in Cream magazine. Guys looked like Aladdin Sane. I didn't relate the Ramones to the pictures of the English guys, even though they were actually copying the.
Yeah. Well, they had.
The information wasn't out like it was nowadays, you know. So we thought Ramones had their own world. It wasn't connected to anything.
When did you guys realize?
Then the labels started putting safety pins.
That's sort of true.
Yeah, absolutely.
They still have
Actually, all bands have their own worlds, huh?
Yeah.
But
You know,
when did either of you guys, or both of you guys, realize like there was something happening here? There's something real going on in LA. that
oh, I
was
knew when
different?
I saw that gig.
That was the gig?
Yeah, in fact, Debu wouldn't make a band. You got to understand the negative. You know about this negativity towards punk scene. This was a minority movement. Most people hated it, and more than the Square Johns was the rock and rollers. They just hated it. That's why you were playing gay discos, ethnic halls. It's very hard. It was a lot of prejudice. People are so much more open-minded now these days. Cats who complain and stuff, they don't make fun of you. I put a picture of Richard Hell on my bass. That was a line in the sand. Especially in Pedro, man. It was belligerent. We had to stop wearing our punk clothes and we'll go back to high school clothes and just keep the punk in the head because people were just.
Yeah, it was very threatening. I mean, that's why some people will ask about, well, what do you think about punk rock today? And punk rock today has found a great, in my mind, I don't listen to like new punk rock bands maybe, but I know that it's a subculture and it's a niche, and people they're 15 or 20, whenever they discover it and they go, wait a second, I can go to this place and I can do pretty much whatever I want. And it costs $8 and there might be a drink smuggled in here. I'm in. And I get a black eye and get to go back to high school and say, dude, look at my fucking black eye. This fuck came over. You know, and that's, I could care less whether, you know, people say Green Day has made it into the, you know, more homogenized. I mean, that's kind of dealt with in the book, the way that, you know, things can sort of narrow down. But at least nowadays, I don't see that same kind of belligerence. You know, this guy with brightly orange hair can walk in, could be working at Starbucks, could be, you know, working in a fancy hotel, and that's, you know, like,
Jocks painting their fingernails.
yeah.
You know, I remember when I first saw that.
The hippies brought us wheat bread. Hippies made it so you could buy wheat bread in fucking Safeway. Right? And punk rockers mean that you could wear a mohawk and not get strung up. You know? That's about all we did. but I would say that, like, even though things may have narrowed down, maybe people think that punk rock now is more narrow, or like a narrower definition. There's not the same kind of sexual and there's a lot more diversity in punk rock now. I know that for a fact. There's not this like Nazi bullshit of like skinheads and you know, beating people up. And you know, that's also in the book. Jack Grisham talks about what it was like in Fullerton or wherever down in Orange County, where they were pursued. They would have like carloads of jocks chasing them down and beating the crap out. So they thought, okay, fine. How about if we get about 30 people and, you know, like send like one of the coyotes out there, send one guy out there and he starts getting beat up and then 29 others come in. It was, yeah, whatever.